with Isabel, who heads up our data and reporting team, and she's going to be talking about effective visualization within Landfolio. One of the things that we've had over many years is ideas and concepts on how to build dashboards and effective reporting frameworks. And originally we thought we would be able to sort of have a one solution fits all approach. And over time we realized that every organization has very different requirements. A lot of organizations already have some sort of BI, business intelligence platform in place. And so our approach these days is far more flexible, trying to address all of these different needs that our clients have, and Isabel's going to talk us through that. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everybody. Thanks, Paul, for the introduction. So I can skip the notes on my first slide. So as you all know, Trimble's vision is to transform the way the world works. And my team's vision is not different from that. We want to transform the way the world works using effective visuals that drive informed decisions. Those visuals can be in the form of maps, reports, or dashboards. And today I'll be focusing on dashboards and showing a little bit of using maps in dashboards as well. So to implement this vision and thereby taking your Landfolio to the next level, let's look at how a dashboard can effectively visualize your data. So I've set up a couple of slides with different examples of graphs that could be included in a dashboard, and I'd like to talk you through that. A dashboard can consist of many pages, and it's ideal to have an executive overview as the beginning of your dashboard. There can be lots of different information included, different types of graphs, different type of data covered, and that can be in terms of your applications, your active licenses, the evolution of those. We can also look at revenue collection, and production figures. And graphs make it very easy to quickly pick up trends or discrepancies or areas that needs to be looked into. So let's start by looking at these graphs to monitor your applications. So on this graph we can see on this dashboard page we can see there's two graphs. We're focusing here on the left. We have the different license types, and the colors on the bars indicate the different provinces. So we can see here the first province there has, and I can't read here on my screen, I think it's 9 applications, and the second one 10, and so forth. So immediately we can get a lot of information already from this graph, and we can see that small mine applications are the most in the system at the moment. So these are the number of applications, whereas here we're looking at the area coverage of those same applications. So here we can see that the biggest coverage is actually those same small-scale mining applications that we looked at there, and that's almost 3,000 square kilometers. It's also possible to add filters on your dashboard. So the next few slides, I'm going to show you these same graphs, just filtered differently, so that you can get an idea of what kind of information you can get out. So firstly, on this one, I've just chosen a single province. So now you can suddenly see that for that province, there's actually just 2 types of applications. And there's the number, and there we have the area coverage again for those applications. Another example. So here I filtered not by provinces, but by license types. So, and I've chosen those 2 license types, and we can see for those 2 different quarry application types, there's only actually 3 provinces where there's quarry applications, and then again, the area coverage. Finally, for this graph, I've used a combination of filtering on license types as well as on the provinces. So on this one, I've chosen to use 3 different provinces and 2 different license types. So the combinations are endless. Depending on what information you want to get out and what you want to analyze, we can set it up in such a way that you can get those answers that you need to make informed decisions. All right, let's look at a few other examples. So we can look at which commodities are in demand. And by the way, before I continue, all of these graphs come straight from a Landfolio database. The data in the background of all these graphs is the Landfolio, same as what you have. So in this instance, I pulled the top 10 commodities for active licenses. And these 3 different colors are for, I think the green, it's so small here, but it's for, one is for prospecting, one is for mining, and one is for others. So I'm just looking at it at that level. And then what I'm also looking at is in terms of numbers, my top commodities is gold, copper, and cobalt, and the same for the area coverage. But for the 4th one, I can see that in terms of numbers, diamonds is next, but in terms of area, silver is actually next. So I can start to look at this and actually analyze what's happening and what commodities clients are focusing on. Here's another interesting one. So this is the application evolution over the last 5 years. So on the left, again, the number, and on the right, the area coverage. So here we can see for the colors are the different license types. And we can see from 2019 up to 2022 how the number of applications changed in the system. So we can see that in 2019 there was 150 applications out, which grew to about 165. And in terms of area coverage, there's not a big difference where it's changed. Let me just see if I have the numbers here. I can't actually see the numbers, but where it's changed just slightly in terms of the area. So when looking at these graphs, obviously we need to take the economy, the market, maybe changes in legislation, etc., into account to interpret these graphs. So there might be a very good reason why this is quite a flat graph. All right, so in this instance, the previous one was application. Here I'm just looking at small-scale mining and the evolution of that over the last 5 years. Here we can see in terms of numbers, it's quite increased from 2019 to now, as well as the area has also increased with about 600 square kilometers. What I'm highlighting here as well is that you can hover over the graphs and get more information and get the actual numbers. So here I've just highlighted the 2020 numbers, and there you can see the numbers for that specific year. All right, so next we're looking at monitoring and analyzing our revenue collection. So this first graph is a graph of the annual forecast and collection for per month. And we can immediately see from this graph that something is not quite right here in March, right? So in that instance, what would be good is to be able to click on that graph and actually drill down and see what exactly happened there, because we expected to get that amount of money and we only got that. So obviously that's something worth investigating. The graphs at the bottom, the pie charts, here I'm indicating of the same payments that we're talking about here, what we forecasted in terms of payment types and what we actually received in terms of those same payment types. So you can see, yeah, I think the first one there says annual payment, which is the green. And although in both the green is the biggest area, you can see that we've received more in terms of annual payments than what we actually expected. But then you can look at the other types as well, going from there. Similarly to this graph, we can also analyze production figures. I haven't brought an example with of that, but we can also do that for you. All right, so that was taking it to the next level. We can take it a step further and actually add maps to the graphs as well. Just a note here that at the moment, the maps in the dashboards are only available to Power BI users. But let's look at that. So again, I've used exactly the same data set here. These are for applications. So on the left-hand side is very similar to what we'd have before, per license type, and the provinces being the colors. What we have added here, though, is there's two cards at the bottom, one showing the total amount of licenses or applications, and the right-hand side, the total area covered by those licenses. At the bottom here, I have two drop-downs which are acting as filters in this instance, again, one for license type and one for province. But what I then have is a map on the right-hand side that reflects the same information. So I've just made those labels big. I know it looks ugly, just so that you can actually see it on the map for the demo purposes. So on the map are also those 710 licenses, or at least the ones that have shapes. So if I go and I filter here by one province, a single province, then that is what we get. So everything on the map, everything on the dashboard adjusts automatically. So I have one province now. I can see for that province we only have 21 applications. I can see the coverage of those, and I can see for that province we only have 4 different license types applied for. You can also see that the map automatically zoomed in on that province and the applications in that area. I can then go ahead and click on one of these bars to see the information about that. So even clicking on the bar acts as a filter, and you don't necessarily have to have a drop-down. So if I click on that bar and only show, and I can't see there, but I think it's prospecting licenses, the applications for that, then I can see there's only 10 applications for that type, again the area total, and now I can see those 10 applications on the map as well. Further, if I click on any polygon on the map, I just want to show you that the inverse is also true. If I click on that specific polygon there, then it updates this side as well, and I can see only one selected now. There's my area of coverage, and there it highlights to say it's one of these prospecting licenses that I'm looking at there. So if we just go back to the original graph, by clicking in any of the white areas, we can go and deselect everything and just get the full graph again. And then I just want to show you a couple more things. So on this graph, I actually clicked on this highlighted number 8, that little sliver in that bar, and that then filtered everything through again. So by just clicking there, I can filter through. And then another one just by clicking on that 6. And what I also wanted to show you here is, again, you can get a pop-up with some extra information about what you're looking at. And there we can clearly see those 6 applications on the map. I hope you'll agree with me that a picture really paints 1,000 words, and that this can really take your implementation to the next level. And we're really looking forward to working with you to visualize your data to enable you to make more informed decisions in future. Thank you very much.